You may be seated.
Hello, Your Honor. This is a case of Hayslip versus Hayslip.
Thank you. Good day, everyone. Ms. Hayslip, you are seeking a DNA test to prove that Mr. Hayslip, the defendant, is your biological father. You've believed he is your biological father for many years, yet you say he has never allowed you into his life. You acknowledge that your mother may have had sexual relations with multiple men at the time of your conception, but you claim you were always told that Mr. Hayslip was your father. You've brought your aunt along here today for moral support. Now, Mr. Hayslip, you say you want to prove that Ms. Hayslip is not your biological daughter today. You admit to being very angry because you claim you've been forced to pay child support for the past 19 years for a child you did not father. You are also asking Ms. Hayslip to change her last name so that she no longer has yours after today's test results are revealed.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Hayslip, when did you first hear that Ms. Hayslip is potentially your daughter?
I had moved from southern Michigan to northern Michigan. I was on my way back, about a 200-mile trip to southern Michigan. I was pulled over for speeding. And he said, you have a failure to pay support.
And this was the first time you're driving along routine traffic stop and they say this to you?
Yes, ma'am. In fact, they handcuffed me, and when they did, I was pretty mad, and I struggled a little bit with him. And he was adamant about it, and I asked, well, who is it? And he's like, well, it's not coming up. All it's coming up on my computer.
Because you knew nothing.
Nothing.
Never received a notice.
They served me at the address that I lived at 3 months previous to when I moved to northern Michigan.
Wow. And so you're sitting in jail.
Yep.
And you have no idea who
or what or where or when. Just that county is all I knew. That I supposedly had a child in that county that was showing no pictures, no dates, no name.
So when you finally got out, how did you go about finding out what this information was and how?
When I was released from the county, they gave me a court date. They stated the mother's name and the child's name. And I'm like, look, it's the timeline's off. There's no way. It's off by at least 2 months. I had only seen her mother for maybe a month.
And you submitted those dates to the court in the form of a calendar of sorts. So according to this calendar, you were intimate with Ms. Hayslip's mother in October and November.
Yes, ma'am.
And that would put the latest expected due date, that would be in August, around the 20th.
Yes, ma'am.
But Ms. Hayslip was born at the end of September on the 25th. So you're saying that
I believe her time of conception would have been December or January. So
in your heart of hearts, you truly believe this time just does not match up?
That is what I believe.
Now, Ms. Hayslip, you have a completely different understanding that you were told as a child.
As I was growing up, I knew David as my father.
Who told you that he was?
My mother.
Okay.
And then my mother would tell me that he had nothing to do with me. He never wanted anything to do with me, but was trying to get with her.
So, as a child, what's your first memory where your mother told you?
It was around 5. She told me that he could be my father, but earlier she always said David Hayslip. And I would always ask her
She would name him by name?
Yes.
Did you ever try to meet him?
Yes. I met one of the Hayslips in school, which is Courtney. And I told her that my dad was David, and she also said that was her father. And she went home to my Aunt Susie and told her that she met me. And my Aunt Susie told her the truth.
Up until that point, you all going to the same school and don't know
Yes,
you're
Your Honor.
potentially sisters?
Yes.
For a long time, they rode the same school bus and didn't even know it.
Can I jump in with that?
Mr. Hayslip, how did this happen?
She had a different last name. She did not carry my last name up until, as far as I know, her freshman year of high school.
And that was her mother's choice. Her mother gave her the Hayslip name once she approached junior high.
Why didn't she give her the Hayslip name when she was born then, if she's mine?
I don't know. I just feel, and I know, to me...
Well, Miss Hodgemeyer, let me first get you on the record. You are...
Celeste's aunt.
Celeste's aunt.
David's sister.
And Mr. Hayslip's sister.
Yes.
And you are standing on this side of the podium because you obviously support Ms. Hayslip in her claim.
Yes, I do. I met Celeste when she was like 5, 6. Her mother kept approaching me, and I didn't know who she was. And then she was approaching me, telling me that my brother fathered her daughter.
Okay.
I kept asking her and asking her and asking her to let me know Celeste, get to know her. She denied me. She wouldn't let me get to know her.
Really?
Yes. And then finally, after several months, she finally set it up to where that I could meet Celeste. My first impression of her, I thought she looked a lot like me when I was little.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a bond that we had connected, and then we started getting close, and then her mother pulled her away, and I didn't see her again for a long time, and the next thing you know, they put her into foster care.
5.5 years.
Yeah.
I feel for you. I see that this still is very painful for you.
I just want to know why, if you knew me back then, why didn't you try to get it taken care of back then?
If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell. Did you try to say to your brother, hey, David, this young girl, I think she reminds me of myself,
Hey,
you know.
Hey, what really happened is she brought Celeste to a family gathering without, this was before, I'd never seen her, ever. She brought her to a family gathering, took it upon herself to bring her to a family gathering without me being there, without me knowing about it, and telling my kids, my mom, my whole family, and friends that that was my daughter.
And that infuriated you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I was never tested for it. I deny her. But even if she is my daughter, which I don't believe she is, that should be up to me.
You felt like she was out of place bringing Ms. Hayslip to your family before you made that initial
Yes, that's my decision.
And Ms. Hodgemeyer, why is it that you felt like that was the appropriate time?
Because he didn't want to accept it. He didn't want to accept Celeste. He didn't want to accept the situation. And I was feeling that the only way to get her into this family and to get her accepted, she had to be known.
How do you know you're not bringing someone into my family that's not even part of my family? And I've fought, it's Cass County, Michigan. I have fought them for years. Every month, I have filed paperwork with them. They deny me, they deny me, they deny me. Since I didn't answer the letter, the original letter for the blood, back then it was a blood test, then I was deemed the father by default.
Exactly.
And they're saying there's nothing I can do to get a DNA test. For 18 years, I'm stuck paying child support no matter what. Because I had a fling.
I've also read in the statements to the court that you were married to someone else when you had that relationship.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
So this whole pulled over by the police and arrested for this was the way this information came out in your marriage as well.
That ended my first marriage, yeah. I was very young, and, you know, that's no excuse for what I've done, but emotionally and morally, I was not ready really to be married. I was as far as being, you know, taking care of my children.
And you also had to reveal this information to your daughters. You didn't reveal it.
I kept it from them.
You kept it from how long?
Till she
I told them the truth.
Yeah.
So there was no time in between where you mentioned,
to my
well,
children?
No. This could possibly be an issue.
No.
And then you found out this girl that's in my class could be my sister.
Yeah.
Wow.
But they had tested 2 men that I know of, possibly 3 or 4, before my name even got brought up. And I can tell by looking at her, my best friend at the time, she looks exactly like him.
Ms. Hayslip, I want to hear from you. What was your childhood like trying to manage this kind of information?
I've grown up as him as my father, her as my aunt, her as my sister. But also, when he said that he would not take me because of foster care, that also hurt me so bad. Because I went to foster care for 5.5 years. Because he said no.
And before you were placed in foster care, they came to Mr. Hayslip and asked if he would take you.
Yes.
And you're saying that
That's a lie.
He said no.
That's a lie. Even though I denied her as my child, I'm still a human being. I wouldn't check on her well-being, on where they would not tell me where she was being placed. I drove 60 miles.
You drove 60 miles. You went to find her?
Twice. To find her.
To find her.
Yep.
And when you got there, they would just look at you and say, we don't know where she is?
They railroaded me. All they would tell me is she was somewhere near Grand Rapids.
And I seem to agree with him because me, to be supposedly aunt too, I'd done the same thing. There would be times that I would call her mother myself and beg her, more or less, to let me know something about her. Well, let me tell you an incident. There was a time I was going to take her to the fair. Well, her mother gives me a phone call telling me that she was going with her other aunt, her sister. So I just, okay, and left it alone. Come to find out, she sat there dressed all day on the bed waiting for me to show up.
Oh. You know, Miss Hayslip, I have a child, and I cannot fathom what in the world would allow me on any level to be that cruel. All right, let me bring in your daughter, Courtney Hayslip. Please step up to the podium. Thanks for being here. Now, is there a reason why you have not accepted Miss Hayslip Celeste into your life? Are you doubtful that she is your sister?
A little bit, because I've never been told about her, and I wouldn't think that he would deliberately try to hide something from the family if he knew it was his.
I had 2 other children from another mother. After my marriage had broken up,
Yes.
I had gotten with someone else.
Okay.
I did not hide those children from them or anything. I told them straight up, you know, hey, you got a brother, you got a sister, here they are, let's meet them. The only reason, a big reason that things went the way they did with her mother.
But you shouldn't let your actions for my mother come towards me.
But what have you been involved with since you've been a teenager?
A lot.
Right.
I've gotten in contact with her.
No. I'm talking about as far as trouble.
College. I had a job.
How many times have you been arrested?
Twice.
For what?
Assault and battery.
Okay. You think I want that influence around my other children that are going to college and going to school?
Well, Mr. Hayslip, before you are so quick to be her judge and jury, we have heard in this courtroom today an account of a childhood that I don't think you'd wish on any of your children.
You're right.
Or any person.
You're right.
You have to understand that at least before you go and condemn this young woman. You know what? Let me go to the results.
Wait, Judge, before you read the results, can I ask you 2 things?
Absolutely. What would you like to know?
Any way this turns out, I ask that she takes my last name away from her. The other thing, if it turns out she's not mine, I ask for all child support money that's ever been paid to her to be returned to me.
First
Even
off,
if she proves to be your daughter, you don't want her to have your name.
Nope.
well, what point are you making with that?
The point that I'm making with that is her mother's side of the family. I don't want associated with my last name at all.
But that's
But
not
you're
Celeste's
angry
fault.
with her mother. Why are you taking out
I'm
the
still
anger
angry
you
with her
feel
for her
mother
actions.
on her?
How can you be angry with me? You have nothing to do with me.
What
And I
has
will-
she done
I
to
will
you?
never accept some of the things you've done.
What has she done to you?
Nothing personally.
So you're just stating to this court that if she is my daughter, I just don't feel like she's good enough to have my name.
That's how you want to put it.
It sounds like that's what you're saying.
Then that's what I'm saying, yeah.
And so, you know what? Let me go to the results. And then I will have my say. In the case of Hayslip versus Hayslip, when it comes to Celeste Hayslip, Mr. Hayslip, you Do you want to watch Paternity Court on TV? Go to paternitycourt.tv to find your local listings. In the case of Hayslip versus Hayslip, when it comes to Celeste Hayslip, Mr. Hayslip, You are her father. Well, at least now we know your money spent was not in vain. And you have a beautiful young lady over here that the name she carries is, in fact, her rightful name.
That has changed my mind.
Has it?
That has changed my mind.
How do you feel right now?
Because for all these years, I truly believed in my heart of hearts that she was not mine.
What do you want to say to your daughter?
I'm sorry.
Thank you for that. That is what this court is about. None of us, including me here today, are perfect people, but I always say it is never too late for a brand new start. I want you to learn to love your daughter, Celeste Hayslip. That's your baby girl.
First, I'll get to know her.
Absolutely. But know this, when it came down to the come down, as people say, and you didn't know where she went, what was your instinct?
I went to find her.
You went to find your baby girl. Find her. Find out who she is. Miss Hayslip, this is your day. You have found your family. I'm so happy for you. Court is adjourned.
I'm sorry. I never knew. I'm not a monster.
Well, I'm happy that we found out.
That was my main point. You know, that I was, in my heart of hearts, I truly didn't think I was. I feel Judge Lake was fair, honest. She did a good job. She actually brought a family together, I believe, that didn't exist.
Closed captioning provided by